So I'll cut straight to the audience. We have a hand over there, please. Yes.
Ask a really obvious question, please. I'd like to know, Tuppence, whether you were at all trepidatious about joining such a long-established family and cast, and same question to you, Imelda, but obviously I wonder whether you felt like part of the family, considering Mr. Carson is your family, or the real Mr. Carson.
I suppose, yeah, it was a little bit daunting, I think, because it's such a huge cast and it's been going for so many years. There's that sense that you might feel slightly us and them, but it really wasn't like that at all. Everyone was so accommodating, and I immediately felt part of the family. It was a lovely atmosphere the first day at the read-through. There's so many people. It's such a huge cast. And I think as someone who'd watched the series, I think you sort of feel like you know everyone anyway. So you had a kind of shortcut to feeling very at home. So yeah, I felt very welcomed.
Yeah, it felt very comfortable. It did, and because, Penelope and I worked in the theatre together, few of us did know each other from before, and I have had Carson coming home every night for many years. So I did feel at ease, and hope that I didn't let the side down. That's what you don't want to come in under. You have to come in absolutely on a par, and if not, you want to try and bring more if you can. And I think that's the only responsibility one feels in any job, but with this one particularly. And I'd have got it in the neck, wouldn't I, from Carson at night if I'd, hadn't pulled my weight. So it was very nice.
Thank you. And Penelope, how did it feel for you to welcome these two wonderful women to your home, really?
Well, it was heaven. And also it was very nice having a new group of people come in, because it just gives another energy. And it was lovely. I sadly didn't work with Tuppence, although I saw her. But I did have a scene with Imelda, which was lovely, and because we enjoy working together.
Very memorable scene, may I say, yes. Now we have a mic, so if you put your hand up and wait for the mic, please, if any more questions.
No more?
Well, there's one in the front, yeah. Don't get away that easily. There's one in the front here. If you could just wait for the microphone, we now have sound, thank you.
Hello, and thank you for the movie. I have a question to Penelope, and I think that one of the best scenes of the movie were with you and Maggie Smith, of course. So I wonder, did you improvise as well, or was it only the script, or all this humor and sarcasm and what you shared?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch.
Was it? Did you improvise as well, or was it only the?
Oh no,
the script?
It was all in the script. No, there's no improvisation with Julian's script. No, that is written down, and if you change a word, someone comes and tells you that you've changed a word and get it right. And also sometimes he gives you very difficult things to say. I have to say, and. They can trip you up. I think that's true to say, yep. Isn't it? Because he writes in a certain way for the period and so on. But my relationship with Lady Grantham is a feisty one. But we enjoy those scenes because they're always fun to play.
Thank you. Yes, we have another question. Actually, we'll just go to you first, the new one, and then further down the road. Thank you.
Hello, hi. This is a very anticipated movie, and I was just wondering, as the newcomers and as the long person who's there, can you just explain what you think is the magic that captured the audience here? Why are everybody so in love with this idea of Downton Abbey?
Who's that question to?
And to anyone, I
think.
Any
of you.
Yes.
Well, do you want to start? Because you've been doing it longer than we have.
Oh, well, this is a question one is asked all the time. And if I had the answer, I think I'd be a millionaire, because one would take out a franchise on it. But it's enjoyed in so many countries. I also think it's very story-led. So people enjoy following the characters that they identify with. And they like to know what's happening among their interplay with the other characters in the story, in this bubble called Downton Abbey. And also historically, it's quite very interesting from 1912 up to 1926, because we cover a lot of a period of history, which was including the Great War, which was a very interesting period in history. But I also think there's a fantasy quality and an escapism to this, because life wasn't like this entirely in 1912 or in 1926. And at the moment, we're living in quite dark times, so I think actually the escapism is even more important.
Anyone else like to speak to that? The magic?
I think it's also the kind of Britishness of it, what the world sees as, or what they think life is like in Britain, I think. Kind of,
Which it isn't.
Which it isn't. But it's something that I think you don't see anywhere else. You don't see a program like this anywhere else. And that's one thing that we do very well here, is make period drama. And as Penelope was saying, I think that it's very loyal to the period, and Julian always tries to tackle the issues that were relevant at the time, and hopefully we can kind of watch it and relate, but also learn from the past.
Mm-hmm. And also I think with some of the characters, to do with honour and duty, whether you have Lord Grantham trying to be a good man, or Carson trying to do everything absolutely as it should be. And I think we all want someone in our lives to say, I can do that, or I will take care of that, or that isn't good enough, and this is how we're going to do it. And I think we all think, well, I wish I was as good as that, or I wish I could, Mrs. Patmore make the best food, no matter, even if for the people upstairs, but it's still got to be the best it can be. And we all crave to be the best version of ourselves. And I think in this fantasy, which is Downton, they slightly heighten that. And that's, I think, what people really love to watch and be part of.
Thank you. If you pass the mic down there, thank you. Sorry, just to the end of the row there, and then back up to the thanks. And then you next.
I just wanted to ask Penelope the challenges of returning to a character after a 3-year gap, whether she's so in your DNA it's easy to pick up, or whether you do worry about getting the exact right performance and tone after that time. And I wonder, Imelda, if there's any part of you that would have liked to have been downstairs working with Jim.
I think that if you've lived with someone for a very long time, and I've lived with Isabel since 2010, it wasn't too difficult to pick it up again, because they were all the same group of people. So one slotted back in quite easily. And Julian's writing is such that it hadn't changed. It was still 1926. So when we left the last series, this was a continuation of that period. And so I didn't find it that difficult. Of course, there are always difficulties because the script is different and the storyline is different, and what he sometimes gives you to say is quite, although it doesn't seem it is quite tricky to say. But I enjoyed coming back to it and making this film, of which I think there are some wonderful set pieces. And I have to say that I think the director, Michael Engler, has really brought Julian's script to life. I think he's done an amazingly good job.
Yes, downstairs or upstairs? Well, of course, I got the script, I thought, and I thought, well, I'll be downstairs. No doubt about it. So I was quite surprised to be upstairs. And actually, Jim and I think we went to work together 3 days, and yes. a bit overexcited, I have to say. So it was. I would have, of course, liked to have been downstairs and giving Carson quite a hard time, but not to be. So, but I was very happy in Geraldine James's company, and Penelope and Maggie. So it was, gosh. That's like being, with Federer and Nadal upstairs. So very nice indeed.
Thank you. The second row here. Thank you. Oh, there you go.
I have a question for Imelda. In recent years, you have done a lot of theatre. Was filming Downton a welcome break?
Yes. That's the only thing to say. Yes, it was. It was lovely. And I think for the regulars, it usually takes about 6 months, doesn't it, Pep, to make it. So this was 10 weeks.
7 months.
So this was a shorter version. So I was sort of in and out, and really, I mean, and Tuppence and I, we had a couple of scenes together.
Yeah, we actually didn't
have
that
that much. But I mean, it was, absolutely, to be able to go to work and come home at night instead of going out at night to work was a welcome change.
Yes.
And Penelope, I have to just say this, that in 2011, Penelope and I were doing a play. We were rehearsing a play, and then we were doing the play at night, and Penelope was doing Downton in the day, and then coming and doing A Delicate Balance in the evening, where she didn't stop talking. I don't know how she did it, but she did.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it nearly killed me.
Didn't you lose your voice at all?
No, I didn't lose my voice. I
wow,
just
amazing.
lost my mind.
Preferable.
Any hands? There's one at the front here, please. If you could pass the mic. Yeah, thank you.
Hello again. So you all mentioned that Downton Abbey is very, very British. So I wonder, what is the most British thing for you? What defines British people, in your opinion?
About Downton or generally?
In general.
Ooh, wow. Big question.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's changing. The Britain of Downton, the Britain now, are very, very different places and better for it.
Yes.
Really.
There's much more equality now.
Yeah.
Not enough, and certainly not enough between men and women in the workplace. But we wouldn't want things to stay the same. I mean, it's seen in a rosy hue, and it looks lovely, and we all have costumes that match and in the same colour palette and all the rest of it. But we're dealing with something that's not entirely real, although, as Imelda said, the feeling behind it is one in which people are trying to do their best. And that is something that people, I think, have picked up on. So it's well meant, but I don't think you could call it reality. Do you?
No, not at all.
It's interesting you mentioned about equality, but this is sort of matriarchal society that we're seeing in Downton in many ways. Do you think that's been part of the show's success?
I think it's not entirely matriarchal. I think it's both. But I think certainly Maggie has brought an enormous amount of pleasure to a lot of people by playing an older woman who's in charge.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Lots of questions, okay, in the last few minutes.
Behind.
Pass that there, yeah, and then behind. Thanks.
I know this is a difficult question, but do you think there is room for a second feature film? One of the characters says in the film, we're stuck with Downton Abbey, and she means the place, but do you think there's enough material to extend it even more than this film?
Well, I suppose there is. Whether it would be possible or not, I don't know, because getting a group of people together of this, the largeness of this group of actors, getting a group of actors together has taken 3 years. And certainly the younger members are all off doing things in other countries. I mean, a lot of people work and live in America now, because that's where their careers have taken them. So whether it would be possible, I don't know. I suppose there is enough material, because the story goes on. It would be quite interesting to see what happened in as the approach of the Second World War comes. So, and what also happens when, after the Second World War, when they were taxed out of existence, these big families. So history rolls on and has got a lot more to offer, yes.
Thank you. Could you pass the mic back to the next row, please? Thank you. I think was it other side? Thank you. Cheers.
A question for Penelope. That working with Julian and his script, I always wondered, he brings the kind of contemporary subject back to the 1920s world. For example, you're talking about Lucy's as a daughter outside marriage, and then Maggie Smith's character said, well, I wouldn't accept it, but I understand. That's what she said about her existence. Do you think this interpretation is Julian trying to bring up to the subject into sort of contemporary world, or does he do a lot of research and then these things existed that people accept that kind of thing in those days, but try to kind of get on with sort of, I don't know,
their lives.
Yes.
I think it did go on a lot. There was a lot. There was a lot that a lot of relationships that we. Well, it happened all the time. Certainly, with all the kings of England, they all had other wives and many children, who were called the Duke of Westmoreland and the Duke of Cumberland and the Duke of wherever. So there was a lot of illegitimacy that went on, and that has been carried through, certainly in those big houses. I mean, it was frowned on with people outside those, but it was covered up as in the big houses, but it certainly went on all the time. And it was sort of understood and remarked on, and then passed on, and then people continued with their lives. But it happened on all the time. I mean, if you did it and you were a young working class girl, you were thrown out of the house. But if you had enough money and enough privilege, you were able to get away with it.
Great answer, thank you. Time for one or two more questions. Anyone else towards the back there not had a chance? If you pass it behind there. Thank you.
I just wondered about the rap party. Was it just as emotional as the one after the series in the Ivy, or did you now have a feeling like we'll see each other pretty soon again? You're the only one who can
The rap
answer it, I
party.
guess.
Yes, so Penelope, the rap party at the end.
The rap party?
Yes.
Well, I was working, so I couldn't go to the rap party. But I would have liked to have gone to the rap party. But I'm going to the party after this, after the show this evening.
No, I wasn't there.
I don't think we...
That's the first we've heard of a party. Thanks very much.
we weren't invited.
I think you should have your own
where
rap
was
party.
this party?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask actually to Penelope, how did it feel, the big screen experience compared to obviously filming the TV series? Was there a very different sense of scale for you in terms of the...
Well, you didn't have to work as fast.
Right.
When you're doing television, as we all know, and especially doing a series, you're being asked to do everything in quick time. Whereas in a film and one storyline, really, I mean, although there are many strands to it, you have a great deal more time. And so in a day, you don't have to you don't have to have so many minutes filming in the bag before the end of the day. So in that way, it was extremely leisurely.
How nice. Any final questions? Well, then I will wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And go and have a rap party.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey